Hi, welcome back to the Finding Truth podcast here on Unscripted Truth TV. Logan back again. Another week, another ritualistic Sunday afternoon, and even more so with the date, being famous with the kids right now. I'm sure the kids are going nuts. I'm sure it wasn't a fun day to be a teacher in school, especially one of those newfangled retarded teachers that plays into all the asylum behavior, but of course 6'7" is what I'm speak of. And if you're part of Zach's community, or if you even just have a few brain cells still kicking around, you should be well aware that the 6'7" trend is far more than just an innocent quotation or whatever, trending little thing to say to. And they never are. These memes are ritualistic, just like everything else that's handed, top down from our handlers, if you will. But a ritualistic day, and I say ritualistic so much because if you guys aren't aware, that is that's a number combination there is huge with the cabal. They like to pay homage to it in not just human sacrifice, but also in the words blood. Oops, if I could spell blood sacrifice. Same ciphers, just like 86. And if you think about 86 to get rid of, but I mean, I'm sure there is blood sacrifice. You don't have to think of blood for that sacrifice as like a full bloodletting, like the Mayans, like setting somebody on a bloodstone and carving them up and bleeding them out dry. I mean, there's blood sacrifices as much as like, you could look at like circumcisions and things of that nature, especially with the, the Jewish culture and what they like to do with the little babies' foreskin as they cut it. Look into it, do your own research. Some fun, interesting knowledge there. But anyway, little sidetrack there. But yeah, 6'7". So you got all these kids yelling, 67, 67, 67. And you have the ruling class just like laughing their ass off, knowing that they got us hook, line, and sinker. And I'm sure that there's, omen-like connotations to going along with the trends as these kids, say 6'7", 6'7". I'm sure that's evoking something not good in their lives and those around them either. But beyond that, you can't have a ritual sacrifice day or blood sacrifice, human sacrifice day without a blood or human sacrifice. And it's exactly what we got just a few hours ago, really. You have the death of the Chicago Bulls, another Chicago story. Brace yourselves, guys. These are going to come in hot and fast, as they always do. But as they have been. And this is very connected with Michael Jordan. He's very connected with the three-peat. He's a three-time NBA champion because he was on the 91 to 93 Bulls that three-peated. So that's a huge factor in this. But what's even more funny is I've mentioned before how I would watch some of the highlights. Just honestly, I use it as entertainment, but not because I like basketball and what it's become, but because I would sit there and watch, and I would even show my son like plays that are just absolutely scripted. I would be able to spot the like scripting of the plays, and that was what was entertaining for me, seeing how scripted this game is. But on top of that, he was one of the more Bulls announcer, Stacey King. He was one of the more funny. He had some of the more funny taglines, and so I would like say that me and my son play basketball all the time, and I would bring those little blurbs that he would say, like when someone steals the ball, he'd be like, cookies, nom 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 nom. And I guess he's more known for a different one that's like, oh, he's got the hot sauce. Oh, he's got the hot sauce. It's just he speaks very uniquely, but yeah, it's just funny that it's one of the only NBA associated people, and that I'm quoting at all. And he just happens to be the one on the chopping block. His number is up. And how fitting. Born in 67. dies on 6/7. There's a lot to it. The numbers do not lie on this one, that's for sure. And I just only done an ancillary like look through. I'm sure there's a lot to do with his career and other things, but they're very connected to Michael Jordan, very connected to the Pope, who's also from Chicago, as you know. So I'll be highlighting that, but just that name as well. You got a Stacey King, and if you're aware of gematria, and King as that 23 connection, just like LeBron is called the King, and Michael Jordan wore 23, and this guy's heavily associated with Michael Jordan, obviously, but it's also got that 67 there. So look at King equals 67, dying on 6/7, obviously. Now, if you look at it as well, he also dies at 59 years old. So a 59-year-old, which they say he died from a fall. I'm sure you get more. I'll look it up in a minute to see what kind of fall it was. Maybe they explained what kind of fall it was. But he's not a frail man. He's got a lot of cushion, if you even if you want to put it that way. But apparently this fall was enough to kill him. So a little sketchy there, but as you see, he dies at 59. And if you take a look at today's date numerology, you got 59 date numerology. 6 plus 7 plus 20 plus 26 equals 59. So a fitting day. I also have the 23, double 23 date numerology like King. And of course, Michael Jordan's famous number. His last broadcast, let's bring it up here so we can see it along the way. That would be, let's see. So if you look up Chicago Bulls last game. It was against the Dallas Mavericks, which he also played for, which is very fitting. In fact, he retired as a Maverick, I believe, or maybe it was a Celtic. I'll have to double check it. But either way, he played for the Mavericks briefly. 6 games with the Mavericks, which is an important number in this decode as well. But his last game he called was against the Mavericks, and that was on April 12th. If you take a look here, from April 12th of last year, what was it? Sorry, I just have like really scattered notes that I took down very quickly. Oh, did I have the wrong date? Let me see here. I might have took down the wrong date on this one. This might be never mind. I think what I looked up was Stacey King last broadcast. This was maybe the one I had a hard time finding. Oh, no. I know what happened. I know what this is. So their last home game. This is from their last home game, which I'm not sure if every color commentator travels with the team. I know the radio does, but I'm not sure if Stacey King and his partner traveled with the team for away games. So his last home game was an April 10th game, and this might be a little bit of a reach just because I don't know. When I look up to see what his last broadcast was, it doesn't give me a date. I've looked it up multiple times. It's just because his death, it is just clouded in what his death is. And I can't find a date of his last broadcast. So that's why I looked up his last game, assuming that was the game he called. But not all color commentators travel, I don't think, for every away game. So, but the last home game was on April 10th. That's what it was. And that was a span of 59 days, like his age of death. So 59 days ago, he did his last broadcast, or a span of 59 days ago, he did his last broadcast, and now he's dead. So that's a very interesting A little clip note as well. Of course, I mentioned that he was born in 1967 and dies on 6/7. Yeah, I believe he retired with the Mavs. I think I looked that up. Let's just double check. Retired with what team? Okay, yeah. So he retired the same season he played for the Mavericks and the Celtics. So either way, I think that's fitting either way. That the last game he called was the Mavericks. If he did end up calling that game, the last game the Bulls played was the Mavericks, but whether he called it or not, and that was the last team that he played for. One of the last teams that he played for was the Mavericks, which is interesting. And then he wore the number 33 in college. That's what he was scouted under. Of course, he couldn't wear 33 because Pippen was in the league. But what's interesting is from Michael Jordan's birthday, I believe his last birthday, to this day was 3 months and 3 weeks exactly. So wore 33 in college, dies 3 months and 3 weeks after Michael Jordan's birthday, who, everyone associates with winning the title, as well as Pippen, who wore number 33. But also, if you look at that in just days, it's a span of 111 days. And who's in the finals right now? New York, 111. So another sacrifice for the games on the world stage, as we always get every single year. Also, New York has that 33 connection too, which is well known, well documented. But very fitting that New York's in the driver's seat to win the championship this year, and you get a famous, well, semi-famous Bull, and I would say more so made famous by his color commentating after his career. Even though he's a 3-time champion, he did get relatively decent minutes during those championship runs. He was, he faded away into obscurity pretty quickly after that. You look up his career, bouncing around from G leagues to very low minutes on, like I said, the Mavs and the Celtics and things of that nature. But what else did I have? Oh yeah, what I just looked at, because I stupidly remembered that the Pope is from Chicago. If you look, you got Mr. Robert Prevost. So let's do a little check on Roberto here. And you'll see that Robert Prevost equals 67. So that's okay. That's something. Okay, what else you got? Well, from Pope Leo's birthday, which is what? Where is she? September 14th. There we go. As you can see there, born September 14th. From his birthday, from his last birthday to that day is 267 days later. Now, well, that might be on his thing here. Might not have the number. Let's see if I can get it in just the Wikipedia boost. Mm-hmm. I think it'd be like right there. There have been 267 popes, and that is including Pope Leo. He is the 267th pope. And what's interesting about his birthday to this death, is that the span is 267 days, but take away the span and you have obviously Pope Francis, the 266th Pope. So it's just very fitting that the span of days lands on 267 for the 267th Pope, from his birthday to the fated human sacrifice day. So yeah, that was the gist of what I had. I kind of like spilled it all in 15 minutes. That was rather succinct, but I'm sure there's more to be found about this guy. There was something I was thinking about looking up just recently to compound upon this, but I kind of forgot. Let's do some ancillary details. Look them up. Let's see. Chicago Bulls. How about just Bulls? Oh yeah, Bulls has that 33 as well. So that goes to show, that it was fated for him to be drafted to the Bulls. Also, what was it? Oklahoma. Lawton. Was it Lawton? Okay. Oh, no. That was it. Oh, so sorry. I mean, I'll do it properly, even though it's the same thing. Lawton, Oklahoma. If you look right there, Lawton, Oklahoma, his home city, has that 217, which is Michael Jordan's birthday, February 17th. So very interesting there as well. I believe that was pretty much as much as I noticed. But I mean, it's all that right there on the surface. It's very connected to Michael Jordan, the Pope, obviously, and this year's finals, which has just been a huge joke. The whole playoffs have been an insane joke. I don't know how they keep people glued to their seats. It's ridiculous. It's maybe some of the worst entertainment value you could get are these like rigged, crap, scripted games. And that goes just as much for NASCAR, which we've been highlighting. I haven't had the time to be doing side decodes, and hopefully I will by this time next week. I have a post out because I plan to put aside time specifically to see next race, because I have a big hunch on next race. I won't talk about it until I make a post. So hopefully I get to it. But there's a narrative I'm chasing that seems to be playing out. But this week we had Denny Hamlin pick up another race, so he's got a two-peat working. We just had a guy who was a teammate, or on the three-peat Bulls, and he's the co-owner with Michael Jordan of the guy who opened the season with a three-peat, making history. So there's a lot of parallels running right now, and it's worth looking into. But I mean, we could count them up. I mean, let's just do this real quick. It won't take long. What are we looking at here? Let's see. NASCAR wins list. No, not all time. Okay, here we go. And they just don't have it updated to this. I wish this stupid Ask Anything would get the hell off my screen. So you got Reddick. Blaney took that first win that wasn't Reddick, which I'm very curious about that win for him. But anyway, you have Denny Hamlin getting his first win, another Reddick win. So if you're counting with us, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for Toyota, or Gibbs 23XI combination there. You get a Hendrick win, Ty Gibbs win. So there's another Gibbs. So Marty doesn't count like a dum-dum. 3, 4, 5, 6 wins, 7 wins. Hosever wins, another Hendrick win. Shane wins, Daniel wins now. So 8 wins. Let me double check. Man, I don't know how I didn't keep track. 1. So okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 8 wins for Toyota. Obviously, to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wins for elsewhere. So actually, they were coming into this race 6 wins for other makers and 7 wins for a Toyota. So for another 6-7, interestingly enough. And Denny Hamlin picks up the. Oh wait, am I tripping? Yeah. So this was never mind. This was their 9th win. So it's actually 6-9 now. 9 wins for Toyota, and much of those coming for 23XI and Denny Hamlin, as well as Denny Hamlin and Gibbs Racing, as well as Ty Gibbs picking up a win. So dominating by Toyota, very much kind of so like last year Toyota was dominating, and there was, a little bit of making up ground at the end for Ford. But I haven't done too much looking into the manufacturer details. I'm sure it plays a huge factor into it. In fact, I think it has a lot to do with advertising for makes of cars, especially because last year we saw that that there was just new lineups coming out. I mean, you could say they do it every year too, but it was like I can't remember exactly what it is. We covered it last year at the end of the season last year though, but they had a groundbreaking lineup approaching. I can't remember if it was Toyota or Chevy. I know Chevy won it, took the championship, but I can't. It's left my mind for some reason. But yeah, so this season's being dominated by Toyota, and it's just, as Austin said on one of the last podcasts he did with me, that it's just, it's actually hyper consistent, which is like, not only is it unlikely that you'd have so many repeat winners, like for 2 seasons in a row, just having multiple repeat winners, but obviously they switched the format, and so now repeat winners, there's less of a, being a repeat winner doesn't get you as much as it did potentially last year, because there was so many repeat winners. There was only one driver entering the playoffs last year that didn't have a win, and what do you know, is Tyler Reddick. Fast forward to this season, and he's got 5 wins already. So it's very funny how they do that, and it's so funny because we highlighted that last season. We were just like, what is this Tyler Reddick guy doing? What do they got planned for him? Why is he in the playoffs? And not from a logical standpoint, they'd be like, oh, because he got the most points that didn't have a win. Okay, it's like, shut up. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying, like, narrative wise, why do they got this guy in here? Well, you saw why they have this guy in here. He was next up on the block, and obviously they parlayed that whole offseason shenanigans with the 23XI and Trackhouse lawsuit, and having Jordan come out as relative winners of that lawsuit, only for them to just take off like a rocket and be, far and away the best squad in the 2026 season, especially for Jordan, which Jordan equals 26, and we highlighted all that. It's very clearly ritualistic for paying homage to his career and him as a person and as an icon. And, these icons are modern day heroes, as in like the Greek and Roman sense. These people represent, people pay, they tithe, and they what's the word? They damn it. What's that word? When you oh man. Somewhat anyway. They worship, they praise these characters similar to how the Greek and Romans would demand praise and worship, and multiple other religions, but just pointing that out because these are involved in sports and sport, and these gods almost always ruled over some form of sport. And that's why you have Dionysus, crazy last supper Dionysus at the Olympics and things of that nature. These things are not just for entertainment purposes. This is like renditions and twists on a long-standing cultural what's the word? I guess like dictate really, because that's, you weren't just going along to get along back in those times. You were forced into a certain way of life, as much many countries are still to this day, and as America is. It's just there's levels to the freedom that you have, and for much of the West, they have the freedom of relative autonomy, whereas many countries don't have that at all. You are going to do the things the way that they culturally want to be done, or else you'll face consequence. And that's how it was in much of our so-called ancient history. So all these things are being paid homage for. These are jokes that we're all missing. That's the big thing, is that we all miss the joke. We all miss, and I say joke, but we all miss the plot. We all miss the ritual. We don't see it for what it is because we're blinded by the spectacle. And and by doing so, you might as well be, right there. You might as well be praising it along with them. If you're not tearing it down, you might as well be praising it. If you might as well be holding it up if you're not trying to tear it down. That's their thought process, because in the shadows they're going to have hundreds of thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, maybe millions holding up their ideals and fighting for it, whereas we don't even know that there's an ideal worth fighting for or tearing down in the first place. So we're just missing the boat completely. And well, I wouldn't say we are missing the boat, but you know what I'm saying. In generalities, we're missing the boat as a nation and as a people. And these are going right over our head, and it's exactly what they use to rule over us psychologically, emotionally, all these different things. It's like, one of the easiest examples or arguments you can make about sports is that it drains your energy, and it points it into almost always the negative. No team wins every year. Yeah, you'll have teams go on insane runs, and those are always for an exact reason that has nothing to do with your city or the people who live in your city, the normal citizenry. It very much so has to do with the flow of emotion and flow of energy that they need from certain cities at certain times, a la New York and, the Yankees, and a la obviously the Patriots coming, being a symbol for the nation at that time. The Saints after the Hurricane Katrina. All these things are, they can use these things to harness and manipulate people's energy and movement. And it's all levels of control, as we talk about often, as me and Austin have talked about often on this channel. And I do want to just take a quick moment to just say, if Austin, you end up hearing this, brother, I hope you're doing well. And I hope that your ventures are going in a good direction. And I hope you guys all wish him well in the comments, or if you have his a way to get a hold of him. But yeah, just give him your positive energy. Who knows what he needs right now? And I think we've all been there, to where, life pulls you in a million different ways, and it's hard to navigate sometime, but he's a resilient dude, and he's going to fall on his feet. I'm sure of it. And let's just hope that there's as least amount of resistance towards him getting to where he needs to go as possible. But that being said, I did want to, of course, we had King Richard on last week. Was there something else I wanted to point out about NASCAR? I can't remember. I went on a tirade and I forgot. No, I think I want to hold that off for if I can make a community post. Obviously, guys, if you have something towards next week, let's at least take a quick look, because let's see, the Pocono. So it's a Pennsylvania race. And this will be June 14th. Okay. And it's an afternoon race. Okay. Great American Getaway. And then, was there something about his sponsor today? Denny Hamlin. Denny Hamlin definitely made a double down on that he's racing for the Fallen, i.e., Greg Biffle and Kyle Busch. He did another bow as well. So, but what is it? What was the sponsor? Something debt relief. The National Debt Relief. National Debt Relief. Just want to take a quick look at this. Only thing I noticed is that 172, because that could be written like 17th of February, 17/2. Once again, Michael Jordan's birthday. And this was the Fire Keepers. Firekeepers Casino, yeah. Another casino getting a sponsorship of a race, too. Very interesting. Oh, yeah, and it was in Michigan. Got the Firekeepers Casino equaling 88. More Trump homage, with him being the flag bearer at Daytona, as similar to how he did the pace car last year. Trump known for that 88. Seeing if something stands out to me. Hamlin, of course, has that 33. We've talked about that multiple times on the channel. Just peeking, seeing if they're, because I didn't do any major decode of this race. I'm looking ahead to next week as a potential thing. Like I said, hopefully if I see things that span out once I do get some numbers down and some research done, I'll do a community post if it's more cemented. But I have a theory, that I have a narrative I'm chasing, and it'd be the perfect time to catch wind of one, because things are going to start winding down. Now, my one theory I do see still very much so more than likely happening is that there's a big shift by the end of as you say, he flew the flag, and she's like, yeah, did everyone roll with the flag, a Kyle Busch flag, or was he the only one that had one? Got something you got to think about. Oh yeah, Michigan. Yeah, it does have that 4664. Interesting. Sacrifice has that 46. Sacrificed his dad. Wouldn't be surprised if he was involved with Kyle Busch. What was Kyle Busch's birthday? May 2nd. It's 36 days from his last birthday to today. I mean, he did race for Monster. At least I believe he did. And Monster has those 3 6s in their logo. Mark of the Beast. Made to look like scratches, but they're actually tent pegs, which is a pictograph. Long story there. It's like originally like a Hebrew letter. For those who want to be sticklers and talk about only Hebrew, when we bring up gematria, there you go. All right. It very well might have to do with his last win, and I'm sure this all season is going to be paying homage to Kyle Busch and probably still Greg Biffle as well. I didn't look up what comparisons to him, but yeah, we will see. But yeah, R.I.P. my dude, Stacey King, which he goes by. His name is Ronald Stacey King, so just goes to show you these stage names are purposeful. But yeah, this will not be a super long episode at all. And I did want to spend a good amount of time going through the headlines of King Richard's website, which you should all check out. Of course, it's floating on the top of the screen, but if you can't see it, obviously I have it posted in the description. But yeah, there it is, scrolling on the screen as well. Check it out. As I've said, he's very astute with getting to the headlines and making very informative presentations very quickly. So he's updated this as quickly as yesterday. If you guys hadn't heard, there was another shooting on a Saturday too, which I'm sure he has that highlighted. There we go. Boom. First thing he has highlighted. That's the first thing that came to mind. I'm like, Saturday is always a shooting day. But yeah, you look at the gematria, Saturday, 109, 107, shooting 107, 109. So no doubt about it. But yeah, in Toledo, Ohio, interesting. Toledo, is that where the Hall of Fame? What's in Toledo? Toledo. Oops. No, it's not. The Hall of Fame's not in Toledo, is it? No. Okay, never mind. I can't remember where the Hall of Fame is. Anyway, whatever. Toledo. I know it's Toledo College has made a few interesting runs in the NCAA tournament. Anyway, a shooting, up to 8 people shot, they say, at a festival. It's always at these festivals and things like that. Here's the headline right down here. Police search for suspects after 8 people shot near a festival in Toledo, Ohio, authorities say. The authorities. As you can see, the Saturday shooting. I love how large he makes these posts as well. So it's much easier to see on these like when I share it, for people with phones and things of that nature. I can even make it a little bigger as long as it doesn't make it grainy or anything. Let me take away his little. Oops. So yeah. It obviously shares the gematria with military as well, as we've shown and King Richard talks about multiple times, and Zach, of course. But he says there's a top headline that's about the military. It might be a different one, or I'm just dumb and I don't see it. But I mean, they are talking about military things, but I just don't see actual military mention. But that might be what he's talking about, is the Iranian conflict. So the governor of Ohio, Dick Michael DeWine, equals 109, just like shooting, military, Saturday. So no surprise it comes on that day for him. He's born on January 5th in 47 of all days. As we talk about authorities, authority equals 47. 152 days after his birthday. Interesting. Toledo, Ohio equals 152, where this took place. 152 days after the sitting governor's birthday. Mass shooter equals 152. That's another one I was thinking about when I saw 152. Very well done. June 6th, written as 6/6. Oh, yeah, mass shooting also has that 66 gematria, and this took place on 6/6. Interesting. Yeah, his birthday's 5, could be written as 5/1, and mass shooting goes 51 as well. So a lot of parallels with the governor here. 159 days after the Superior General's birthday. And yeah, mass shooting also equals 159 in the ABC 123 cipher. English ordinal. Scottish Rite is another 159, and these are very Masonic, especially with the authorities they're speaking of are these Masonic figures that, top down give you these stories. 38 date numerology, 38 weeks into the Pope's age. Death, another big 38. More connections to the Pope, the Jesuits. Old West End Festival equals 100. 100 days from Pope Leo's birthday. Go figure. Toledo sits on the 83rd meridian. Of course, murder has that 38 and 83. Good check there. And the current mayor, Wade Kapsukiewicz, Jesus. Born October 30th. October 30th. Is that Kamala's birthday? Where'd she go? Oh, October 20th. Okay, never mind. Mixed up. Day before Halloween, though. Halloween, All Hallows Eve. Let's see. 147 days from his birthday. Conspiracy, 147. Freemason, 147. Very good. And he updated it, and they said that 12 people were shot in the incident. As you see here, police search for suspects after at least 12 people shot near a festival in Toledo, Ohio. June 6th, the 157th day of the year, 37th prime number. Shooting equals 37. 37 being the 12th prime number. So some reductive math there to get that 12. As they said, 12 people were shot. Very good post there from yesterday. And then from a few days back, you have I believe, a black shaming story of Brandon Ayuk. Niners football player who apparently recorded himself driving well over the speed limit. And there's a story like this every season if you guys pay attention. It's not always alcohol involved either. It's not always alcohol involved. A lot of times it's just speeding. I will say I'm not nearly as interested in this story, especially when there was this. There was the Chase Bank hostage situation with a bomb threat involved, and Richard was talking about this. And yeah, the hostages were all released. Suspect killed. So great job, authorities. You did it. For Chase Bank, kept the Chase Bank running and good. And we were able to get back in there and give them more money of ours and sign over more of our life to them. Too bad he didn't get to the kill switch in his heart, which I think he said he had. Let's see. So they said there are 10 hostages. They've all been released, and a suspect is confirmed dead on Wednesday. Wednesday is another big shooting day, or Mercury the Trickster Day. This is a big trick they're playing on us. The hostage situation ended at about 4:20 a.m., so just in time, guys. We were able to get back and roll up a fat doobie. Bye. After an FBI officer-involved shooting, police said. The hostages were found unharmed and received medical evaluation and treatment at the scene. If they're unharmed, why do they need that? According to police, they have since been reunited with their loved ones. Jeremy Blakemore, assistant chief of the Bakersfield Police Department, said at a press conference on Wednesday. Jeremy Blakemore. Suspect identified by the FBI as 41-year-old Anthony Scott Searles Harris. Wow, what a name. Was pronounced dead at the scene, police said. Oh, yeah, he was just keeled over. 41-year-old blamed, and this was on June 2nd, 104 days from Pope Leo's birthday, interestingly enough. And bomb threat has that 104 and 41, as he highlights. Also, the 58 is interesting with Freemasonry, because I know that I believe Pope Leo XIV equals 58, just like Pope Francis equaled 58, which is a big Freemason number. Pope Francis equals 58. Pope Leo XIV equals 58 and 41. He might even highlight this right after this. He does. Okay, never mind. Sorry, guys. But yeah, you pay attention enough to these things, you remember these numbers, and so yeah, it's almost like I'm having a conversation with Rich right now, because as his post is going, it's firing off in my head, and this is what I would have responded with if he was here. I would have said, hey, just like Pope Leo, just like Pope Francis, just like Freemasonry. And that's what, and there he has it right here. 40 was the 58th composite number. Very interesting, those composite numbers coming in, as well as Freemasonry equaling 58, Secret Society 58, another, go hand in hand. Jesuit suppression lasting for 41 years. That's a good point on top of cherry on the top. Are you kidding me? He literally says cherry on top. All right. That's kind of crazy. I promise you I was not reading ahead and saw that. That's wild. It came on the 203rd day of the superior general's age. 203rd day of his age right now from his last birthday. Hostage situation does equal 203, and that's what they've been calling it. That's what they were calling it. Well, it was live for sure. Hilarious. Taking place at the mayor. It says the whole event is connected to the 26th mayor of Bakersfield. Has this occurred on June 2nd or 2/6. Bank equals 26 as well as dollar. The ritual unfolded 491 weeks after Karen Go assumed office on January 3rd, 2017. Dang, she's been in there a while. 491 being the 94th prime, and hostage situation in reverse equals 94. So, as well as Roman Catholic Church, it also has that 104. Very interesting. Suspect does not appear to have targeted the bank or bank employees in the attack, but he had concerns related to how a previous case of his had been handled in his sentencing, officials said Wednesday. Now, I believe they said that this guy said he had a kill switch attached to his heart, like it's some movie. But the suspect barricaded himself on the second floor and attached explosives to himself and additional explosives to some of the hostages, Blakemore said. The suspect also tied up 5 of the 10 hostages. Standoff began after a reported bomb threat at a Chase Bank in downtown Bakersfield at around 12 p.m. Tuesday, Blakemore said. 2 hostages were first released after hours of ongoing negotiations with the suspect, according to authorities. As the hostage situation continued, negotiations stalled, according to Blakemore. Crisis negotiators were in contact with the individual over the phone. According to police, investigators were also in touch with a hostage who had their phone until the phone died. Yeah. I'm sure you're playing Candy Crush. Too much Candy Crush on there. The FBI and Department of Homeland Security are assisting, and other resources are coming in from throughout the state, police said. Investigators revealed the suspect had requested the involvement of the FBI. According to officials, the FBI assumed control of the situation at 9 p.m. Oh, boy. Tuesday, Blakemore said. FBI personnel made an entry into the building after making an assessment, taking into consideration that one of the hostages was diabetic. Oh, God. It's okay if they all get blown up. One of them's diabetic and needed medical attention, and the erratic behavior of the suspect, Sid Patel, the FBI special agent in charge at the Sacramento field office, said at a preference. Come on. There's no way, dude. There actually could be no way. 0 ways. The suspect's name, Sid Patel, as he requests the FBI, and the leader of the head of the FBI is Kash Patel. Okay. Suspect was killed at around 4:30 a.m. Wednesday. The FBI special agent in charge, Sid Patel, sorry. So 2 FBI, you got a lot of Patels in there. Keeping our country safe, I'm sure the there's no fear of internet hackers and Indian theft now that we got Sid and Cash in there. That's a Toy Story, if anything. But the suspect was killed around 4:30 a.m. Wednesday, Patel said. Several buildings in the surrounding area were evacuated, police said. The Chase Bank is located at Chester Avenue and 17th Street. 17? Like Mason? Wow. This is a horrific event, Patel said. Okay, so Rich writes, for another point, this event began a span of 54 days before the FBI's birthday on 54 date numerology. 54 is a big number with the Jesuits. As you see here, Jesuit order, boom. June 2nd being the 153rd day of the year as well. Jesuit order equals 153. So yeah, very well put there. A lot to be gleaned from this post on that. This is his earlier post. And so yeah, very well done, Rich. Look forward to having you another time or getting into another venture. Depends on which comes first, but remember, guys, always check his website if he's not active on his channel, or if there's, obviously keep up to date on Zach's channel as well. He's been obviously nonstop with the headlines. Of course, with sports is going as well. He's been hot on the tails of the big narratives coming out of New York or out of the finals, and how eerily similar they are to what they determined, like the 78 teams, or I can't remember what year, but Knicks, Spurs from way back in the day. And of course you have all the legends sitting courtside all the time, Tim Duncan and David Robinson being a big part of this season. And as they get Wembanyama, you got the two towers in the crowd the entire time, symbolic of another event. I wouldn't be surprised if they had Patrick Ewing involved, maybe even some Larry Johnson sightings. God knows the Latrell Sprewell could show up at any moment. But very interesting stuff going on in the NBA, and it's being covered very well by Zach at Gematria Effect News, or Number Games, as he has changed his YouTube. Well, it's been that way for a while now, but in case you're used to his old titles, definitely check him out. If you guys are behind on anything that he's been working on, he's been pumping it out, and it's always been highly informative as always. So shout out to Zach. Another big shout out to Richard, who joined the podcast or joined the show last week, and we had a great conversation and look forward to having many more. And like we teased at the end of that episode, if you guys caught it, there could be some stuff in the works as well, some alternative media potentially, but maybe even some panels. Hopefully these panels will rival the troll panels that seem to take over, and hopefully they can stay. Hopefully they'll won't devolve into troll panels themselves, because I don't think I'd like to be too much of a part of that. But as far as calling out certain things, that's completely fine. I just don't want anything like I want it to be a counter to what's becoming more mainstream, which is these troll networks and agents being able to roam freely and have more access and control over the narrative than the people who have a righteous cause or a righteous will to make a change. Instead, these people who really fight for nothing, they selfish natured losers really get to run rampant, and they're the ones who get all the airtime and all the people buying up their drama. And that's the last thing this world needs, is more drama. But So yeah, I'm really hoping that those things come to fruition. Of course, I'm a very busy dude, and but excuse me, holy shit. That being said, sorry. That being said, any help you guys? Holy shit, just lost my voice. God damn, I don't know where that came from. But that being said, any help you guys can provide, yeah, I don't know, something like itchy in my throat. But any help you guys can provide, bringing any details to light for the channel or suggestions, or potentially getting on to the channel and joining me, and potentially joining Rich. And of course, if I have more people to bring on my side to bring to the table for a panel that's hosted by him or whoever, the better. And remember, it's just like we can all rise above the squabbling. We can all rise above the differences, and we can meet somewhere in the middle for conversation. It doesn't always have to be, you know, so definitive. We don't always have to, give up on um an avenue just because it doesn't, suit our wants and needs for the moment. We should be able to have a little bit more foresight and understanding and will to work together. Who knows? Maybe the provocateurs of today become, more so the um, heartfelt contributors of tomorrow. There's a lot of young people in the community too, so don't give up on everybody. Obviously, don't accept trolling, don't accept the bullshit, but um, I think it's worth a real shot to get a panel going, something that we can present to Zach, something that Zach can get involved with, because I'd feel terrible being associated with something that was trash and then, set at Zach's doorstep, and I'm not to put to Zach on a pedestal or anything, but he's obviously on a certain pedestal to me. Not that I pedestalize like other men or I have leaders, but as far as his teaching and having met him, I respect the man. I respect his work ethic. I expect his intelligence at being able to see through um, all the crap that he was fed and be able to, bring that to us and make it a palatable discussion topic. Whereas, you don't really have an excuse not to understand or not to join the conversation because it's made so clear and so evident. And, that's all thanks to him. So got to give the dude his props, got to give him his flowers. And, like I said, I hope to be involved with something or be a key player in, the rise of the truth, let's just say community, or the truth movement on our little side of the internet. And I want that to be in a positive light. I don't want to, be associated with a bad crop or something like that, or a bad yield of a crop. I'd much rather have something be part of something that's, moving forward. And that's what, if you guys pay attention, it's just like everybody, we all have our flaws and we all have our uniqueness, I'll say. But you look at the people that are the main contributors in the community, it's just like they're not yes men. They have an edge to them, they have a bite to them. They're not just, pushovers either. And kindness gets you so far. And as I say, the cult of kindness, or the curse of kindness that we talk about here on the podcast, that's a very real thing. And I think, we all need to thicken up our skin and be able to accept different points of view and different ways that things are relayed, different ways information is relayed. It's not always going to fit everybody's style, but we need to be more flexible in our understanding department. And that'll create larger avenues of being able to work together and get somewhere we only have so long, as me and Austin have said multiple times. This a South Park joke. They can turn this internet off. There's been several cartoons that have depicted the internet being turned off as if it has an off switch and things of that nature. And we don't, as I've also said, specifically, we're on a borrowed platform, on borrowed technology. So we don't really have the right or the say to any of this. So while we have it, we really should make something of it and make them rue the day they gave us access to it. Because until otherwise, they'll have proved their point that they can give us the keys to the car and we still won't drive away. Like that's what they have psychologically us under right now. So yeah, with that being said, guys, of course, leave your guys's suggestions, criticisms, whatever in the comments below. Hit us up in the email, and hopefully if you guys are curious on how to get on, definitely hit us up in the email. We can talk in the comments, but it's way easier to have a correspondence in the email. And because I know I had somebody mention that they wanted to join, but that kind of died out in the comments. If you hit me up in the email, we can have a conversation about when we start, how it's going to flow, and what you want to talk about, things of that nature. Makes it much easier. But anything else, obviously leave it in the comments. I respond to every comment. So look forward to hearing from you guys, and hope you guys have a blessed week. And once again, make sure to leave those well wishes to the other half of the podcast, Austin. Hope he's doing well. And this one's for you, bro. And hope to hear from you soon. And until next week, guys, I am out. Later.